I got offered a deal by Salford to stay, and I chose I didn't like the environment there, some of the things that were going on. So I decided to leave, and when I left, I got bought by the Leeds Rhinos, who at that point was the best team in the world, which, I got bought and I went to their academy. Quickly worked up I were already in the reserves. Got part of their X Factor programme, where I used to go in early.
Welcome back to the Believe in Yourself podcast. Today's guest is a former professional rugby league player, now turned entrepreneur, motivational speaker and award-winning mental health campaigner. He is the founder of Andy's Man Club, which has over 28 clubs located across the UK, with just under 1,000 members taking part each week, talking openly about their mental health. Please welcome to the Believe in Yourself podcast, Luke Ambler.
Hi Luke, thanks for having me, mate.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you keeping during these times?
Good, yeah. Do you know what? It's in complete uncertainty for all of us. It's great to be able to find some certainty by doing things like this and still being able to, as you know, motivate, inspire, and hopefully give people a little bit of hope. And that's what we try to do with everything that anyone's doing out there in this field is deliver a little bit of hope in whatever manner that may be for different people.
Amazing. It certainly is. And it's like I said, if we can find that little bit of hope during these dark times, then, I often say that we've already survived our toughest day. And if we can just get through and find peace in this storm, then hopefully we can find some peace and find some growth in it as well. But over the years, I've personally loved watching you grow from your speaking career, your multiple businesses, and also Andy's Man Club. But I'd love to start off this episode finding a little bit more about your childhood and your upbringing and some of the experiences that may have scoped to make some of the experiences you have when she was older.
Yeah, I come from a really good background. Mum, dad, got an older brother. My older brother had an artificial leg, or has an artificial leg, so that made things interesting when we were younger. And great parents who played a huge part in both our lives. But then when I got to 8 and my brother got to 11, they decided to separate. And everyone deals with separations in different ways. And my way was to comfort eat. So I used to eat and ballooned in size. And I didn't fare too well at school at times. And a bit of a cheeky lad who liked to put a mask on and pretend that he had his shit together. But at times are in turmoil. And I guess my biggest challenge came when I was a kid, when my mum had a car crash on her way to get me from school. One of the first times she come to get me after my parents had separated, because my dad had won custody. She had a car crash which left her with brain damage and a broken leg, and it's where my mental illness journey began. I say mental illness, not mental health, because there is a difference that I think at the moment in this world we're living in, they get construed and mixed up. But she got the mental illness, which means basically, in a nutshell, she drops and falls and she can knock her teeth out, break her jaw, cheekbone, you name it, she's done it, and that became real difficult. Her anxiety got that bad, she became a self-isolator. She lived in her house for 4 years at one point, and then depression upon being suicidal. So that was real difficult at times. So that were the start of it all, really. But even through that, I've got a great role model in my dad, and I found Rugby League, which was a great escape for me. A place where I could go and be myself and be the big kid that you get rugby ball to, scores a try, everyone loves me. And I found a lot of significance playing rugby league. And that were a huge part of my life, especially as a youngster. So, I think a lot of times when you do what you do, when you do what I do, we end up talking a lot about the negative stuff that happened to us to show what we've overcome. But there were a lot of positives in there as well, from ages of 0 to 8, what a start to life. I wasn't the most affluent family by any stretch. My dad were a very hard-working man, as was my mum. My dad worked all day, my mum worked all night. And, to give us, whatever they could. And that probably instilled a work ethic in me, which is why I'm an entrepreneur. I don't often talk too much about that. It ends up being about mental health a lot. But, my dad bought me my first little tool belt at 6-year-old, and I used to go around digging people's gardens and getting 50p and walking to the shop for them. And I've always loved business, and it's never been about money. It's been about interactions. It's been about what business is. It's service. Whether that's helping another human being by digging the garden, making their life a little bit easier for whatever that may be. So yeah, childhood was good. And I think often when I do talks and stuff, some people go, God, you had a rough childhood. I go, no, I had a great childhood. There were probably periods within that childhood that were tough. But overall, great childhood. I've had a great life. Because, you know, as I imagine, and it's the first time we've ever got a chance to chat, but it's what you make of what's happened here that counts. You know, it's what you make out of how it is, and it's your perception of it, you know, your viewpoint. So, you know, the answer to the question as a short version will be, yeah, I had a really good childhood.
I think I can relate so much to that story myself personally. You know, my parents separated at a young age, and I found my escapism through rugby union. It was a case of that whenever I stepped onto a blade of grass, it was as if the external world just escaped from my mind, and I could focus on being myself, being the real Luke, and I found so much value in that. But one thing I picked up on doing that, those incredible messages there, is lots of things that I picked up on, but I want to come to one point, and you talked about when you stepped on a field, or someone who was in front of your mates, you often wore a mask to pretend as if you were this Luke who had his shit together, as you said. You know, why did you feel as if you had to be like that as a young person?
I think we all, at times, you know, I think everyone wears a mask. You know, you wear a mask when you're presenting a podcast because, you know, you've got to be, you want to, you know, be a great podcaster. It's not that you're not. I don't say you try to fake that. I'm just saying, be clear on ears again. And everyone is, you know, I go work in corporate worlds and they put the mask on at corporate and I speak to them after and it's a different person. You know, they might swear a little bit to me and tell me about the kids and how they wind them up, but at work they've got to be super, you know, positive and proactive and chase success. And, you know, it's same with school kids. They've got to look cool when they go to school and, you know, they've got to be down with kids and, you know, and they've all got to fit in. And a lot of time, like, you know, a lot of them don't even like being on Snapchat and don't like being in that world of negativity, but they find themselves in it just because everyone else is. And, you know, I believe in the BU concept. You believe in the BU concept. And I think what I've found is that I am now very rarely without a mask. Very rarely. You know, I am probably too real and raw a lot of time for many people. You know, I give nothing but my truth and authentic self. You know, a lot of people like that. You know, sometimes it's difficult for some people to be able to handle that, you know, that brute honesty, that truth. But I believe that until we can truly be ourselves, then we're nothing, are we? Because, you know, if you're just living a life of your fake yourself, it's difficult. And, you know, I respect anyone who is able to come out with a mental health problem or come out with a sexuality or a gender or whatever issue they're facing in life. I respect that because that's when you take the steps to being yourself, where you can truly take your mask off and be yourself.
We have to remind ourselves sometimes that not everyone is, you know, is zipped up at the back of ourselves. You know, we don't always just put this character on to show our hidden filter. But I really do think that vulnerability is such an important skill that a lot of people, especially the corporate world, they often forget about. You know, people can relate to, like you said, when you're real and you're raw, that's when people can really relate to you. And I think from my experience, that's when I build my strongest connections with people because you can relate to that because nobody's perfect.
In a world, though, of Instagram filters and where we're all trying to be perfect, like I know on Instagram's a great example, right? I could get far more likes and far more interactions by posting fake shit, posting me on a beach. That shit don't really bother me. Like, you know, I've gone on enough holidays and I enjoy that. But bragging about stuff's never been my game. I found the posts where people do brag. People seem to like that, which I never understood. The ones where it's actually someone, say, making a difference or an impact, usually less engagement because people think, well, they're actually really doing that and I don't like that. So, and that's often hard at times when you are being vulnerable and you are being your real self. Not everyone always buys into that because we are conditioned at times, or majority of our lives, to be fake, to hide our insecurities, to hide our vulnerabilities, to hide our perceived weaknesses. And I call them perceived weaknesses because, like, I think that people who are able to express themselves are stronger than someone who's able to bottle it up. I think it takes real strength to be able to come out. And someone's challenging me on that we can't say that people are weak who bottle it up. No, I say it takes someone strong. I think it takes a stronger person to be able to open up. I mean, you're weak who bottle it up. It takes a stronger person to be able to be vulnerable. People think that vulnerability is a weakness, and I think the opposite. I think it's a strength.
No, I completely agree. And one of the quotes that I use is being able to talk about your mental health isn't a weakness, it's a strength. And like I said, that summarizes exactly what you said there. And I think if more people had that strength and could find that courage inside of themselves, then we'd have a lot more people, and the stigma and discrimination attached to mental health would be so much better for all of us growing up. But you also talked then about growing up and was able to find peace in playing rugby league. What was your journey into playing professional rugby league? Or what point in your life did you realise that perhaps you can give this a real go and have a go at professional?
I was really good at 8s, 9s and 10s, really good. Best player, every award I'd win them all. And then I got I think I had a year out one time, my team folded. And then my dad brought me to a team called Elland. It's, you know, over the other side of town to me. And I went there, and probably when I'm nervous, I go super joke mode. It's just who I am. I'm very love humour, absolutely love humour, and I go probably too far that way at times. Because I'll tell you a story a bit about what I never told on a podcast when I went to Leeds. Remind me of that when we get later on. I've never told that on a podcast.
Yeah, we'll do.
Yes, that. And I go too far humour. I remember at the end of the year, the coach said when he gave my participation award, which I hate participation awards, he gave it to, and he says, Joker at squad, Luke Ambler. And my dad and my home were embarrassed. He said, I'm embarrassed. He says, like, are you going there to like actually play rugby, or are you going there to be a comedian? And make your mind up. And some people find that really harsh. It's probably the best thing that ever happened to me. Because year after I went on, kicked on, and then went off, when I got to 13s, 14s, best player, 15, best player, and then, won every award and got signed by a team called Salford City Reds in Manchester. And I made my first team debut at 17 years old on Sky TV. Scored on debut, got the winners' medal because we just got promoted to the Super League that year. And, it was a dream come true. So that was the journey, and I remember I had a choice between go to Bradford Bulls or go to Salford, and there was something real about Salford that I really liked, that I thought I'd better grow better. And I loved the scout who came, and he told me what he felt I was capable of, and they really made us feel special there. They weren't just a number, and as much as it wasn't the best in terms of, when I say the best academy, I mean like in terms of like what you got given, they were best in terms of, the quality around you, because everyone was just fighting for everything, and it was just a good place to be at that time.
And I suppose it comes down to myself personally. My father is always my harshest critic. I know when I come off the field, and I've only got to look at him in the eyes, and I can see whether he's happy with my performance, or he knows I can do better. And he's always one telling me to push me to that next level because he wants to see the best for me. And I think that's kind of what parents are for, and especially what fathers are for when it comes down to connecting with sport. But I think stepping up to a senior platform at 17, making the debut, scoring a try, you probably had the dream start with your professional career then.
That's how it seemed, yeah. And, and then I got offered a deal by Salford to stay, and I chose I didn't like the environment there, some of the things that were going on. So I decided to leave, and when I left, I got bought by the Leeds Rhinos, who at that point was the best team in the world, which, I got bought, and then I went to their academy. Quickly worked up I was already in the reserves. I'm part of their X Factor programme, where you used to go in early with the other perceived best players in their academy, where you were just next step with first team. Not long after being there and impressing, I got put into the first team squad. Always a train on squad, so I get to go training with them. Still paid me a part-time academy wage, but yeah, you still have that pride of doing it, which looking back now, there's a lot of things wrong with how rugby's run. But, I enjoyed it. It taught me a lot of things about myself. I ended up getting offered a first team. Well, I was due to get offered a first team contract on the Monday morning, and we had a 2020 cricket game to go watch on a Saturday. And I wasn't a big drinker, but because I'd been told this news that I was getting promoted to first team because I had an unbelievable game in the reserves, 2 tries against Hull. I was on fire that year, and I went out and had a few drinks with one of the lads' houses before I went to 2020 and just got obliterated. And I ended up getting in big trouble by the club. I ended up getting a written warning as opposed to a new contract, which was difficult to take because I ended up having to go back to the reserves and really work my way up. And it wasn't looking at that point that we were going to be anywhere back to the first team. It looked like I'd shut that door myself. But I really knuckled down and just silenced all the critics really and got myself back in. And my first, proper year at Leeds in the first team, I played 10 games all on Sky. Or 8 of them were on Sky, and that was something that I'll live with, forever. That it was a real proud moment to be able to play with that group of players. You're talking about some of the world's best players, in Rugby League: Kevin Sinfield, Danny Maguire, Danny Badiras, Keith Senior. The list goes on. You could name one at 17, and they'll all be legends in their position. And
how was it coming into that setup at a young age, coming into the academy, then having the opportunity to play and train alongside those Rugby League legends? How did that impact you and your training?
Do you know, this is where the story comes out. I've definitely never told anyone. I remember getting told that they were going to bring 2 extra players over at Jacksonville, Florida, and they texted whether we were going to go. And they texted like the day before or something daft that we were able to go. And I got this text, and it was just like, wow, I'm going away with the Leeds Rhinos, like first team. I'm going, with some of the world's best players, idols since being a kid, and I'm going to be sleeping and living and just around them constantly. And it was just a bit like, whoa, what's going on here? And got out there and I just started abusing everyone, in a banter way. Like my way of dealing with the nerves. I just started like, I did become very good. Keith Senior used to get it off me, and he was known as a big, tough, hard man. And me and him became very good friends. He actually moved into my house. He lived with me for 2 years when he broke up with his partner. But when I got back from the trip, Brian McLennan, the head coach, pulled me in and says, really impressed with what you've done over there. Really impressed. But in order for you to get this first team, one, you've got to lose some weight. And two, you need to calm down around lads. You've just been over there and just ripped life out of everyone. Like, you're a young lad, you sort of like need to know your place. You've come in and just destroyed everyone, like, with banter. And really, for me, I just wanted to say, actually, I'm just a bit nervous, like, around them all. Probably just got a bit giddy. But yeah, that were quite a funny one, actually.
All of us have different ways of dealing with the emotions that we have. And like I said, for you, it's, that joke, it's that humor, it's that banter, it's expressing yourself. And like I said, for me, it's probably the complete opposite. I kind of like, if I'm shy around someone, I'll kind of go into my shell a little bit. And then once I build a little confidence, I'll gradually start coming out of it. But it's like I said, every young person and every person in particular, we all have a way of dealing with things. And once you then broke into the Rugby League squad, you played 8 first-team games on Sky Sports. And was it then a case of that you was living the dream, or was the dream maybe something else you was chasing?
Do you know what? And it's only real, working in this personal development world, you've obviously got to self-reflect a lot. And I probably only just a few weeks ago realised that probably why I really didn't kick on there was probably because I was overawed by the whole thing. Probably didn't reset a goal. So the goal was to play first team rugby. I managed to do that at Leeds Rhinos, which is the pinnacle at that time. And I don't think I ever reassessed. And I went, you know what? I want to play 20 games a season, 15 games a season. I want to be a regular. It was sort of like, I made it. It was probably the year after that I got loaned out to London. I was still a 21-year-old, like 20-year-old. I went down there on my 21st birthday down there. I went down there, had a full year of Super League. It just wasn't for me, being away from my family at that point. I had a missus up here, my mum who had her conditions, and it was difficult being down there. I ended up playing 24 Super League games, which were amazing, as a young prop forward. They put a lot of emphasis on there. I had good money down there, so I brought money back, loads of positives, but it was still real difficult. And, I probably never, when I went back to Leeds, when they brought a new manager in, that made it difficult because I never got a chance to build relationships with him. But yeah, it's an interesting one, really, that sometimes I don't think when you're in that moment, when you're not educated on yourself and, your own emotional intelligence and your mindset, it can lead you down different paths. And, I probably just didn't offer up my best self in London. I didn't offer my best self when I got back to Leeds. And then when they let me go, that dream was sort of crushed. And when your identity is your job, which, it shouldn't be that, if you pin all your hopes on that I am Luke the motivational speaker and you stop getting gigs and you have an identity crisis because you're no longer Luke the motivational speaker. And that's what it was. Luke, I'm a Leeds Rhinos player. When Leeds Rhinos tag got taken away, that became a very difficult.
Before we move on to kind of the difficult point and how you coped with that time, I love something you talked about then about how you was potentially too caught up in a bubble to realise where you was trying to head and the direction. Why is it important for rugby players, for sport people, but also for people in general to set goals and to look beyond their current circumstances?
I think you've got to have an idea. If you get in your car and just start driving with no idea where you're going, you'll end up lost. And I think that's what a lot of us end up in life. We end up lost. I think you've got to have things you want to tick off. If anyone's been watching the Michael Jordan Last Dance, which I'd recommend anyone do, the guy had a vision. That was it, a vision of where he wanted to be, what he was going to do. He went and did it. And do you know what? I've used those same principles now in business and, in the charity that I run. And it works beyond belief. Like the law of attraction, it completely and utterly works on a scary scale. But when you don't know about this stuff, it can leave you unstuck. I think everyone needs to have a vision of, not necessarily for that young people. I don't think you've got to know, I want to be this job for the next 40 years. I think you've got to have an idea of what impact you want it to have or where you want it to go in your life, what you're wanting to acquire, who you want to become. Because if you don't have that and you're not working on yourself, you're not self-developing, you're not working towards something, then, it's like feeding a plant. You stop feeding a plant, it dies. And I think that's a bit like our lives, our dreams, our goals. You stop feeding them, eventually they'll die and you start to dwindle yourself.
Stop surviving and start thriving. Because when we start thriving, that's when you start feeding yourself and growing, and that's when we live our best lives. But you talk then about stepping away from the sport and how that affected your identity and how it affected how he was feeling. And what was your emotions or what was your thoughts when you was going through that time and deciding to step away?
When I got let go from Leeds?
Yeah.
Well, I ended up at Halifax, which was a semi-professional team, which was still a very good team in the championship, and it was my local team, a team that I always support from being a kid. I saw myself being there back into my career, but there I was in what should have been the starting to be the good years of my career. And I went there first year. I started doing what I did when I was a kid. I started comfy eating, I started drinking, which I want. I'm still not a drinker. Started drinking. My missus broke up with me, which meant that's when I started the drinking, sleeping around, stuff like that, and. Eventually one night those emotions got too much and exploded, and I ended up in a dark place. I'd got in an altercation and found myself locked up in a police cell, asking myself, why me? Which, was a turning point for my life, because I changed that question, why me, into what's next, which is what I live by now, which is a simple theory of what can I control? And you'll find out later on that it's not just a made-up saying that has helped me through small stuff, it's helped me through family tragedies and amongst other things. And it's helping me right now in lockdown, looking at what I can control and building a load of stuff now that's just helping me just continue to be able to grow and better serve people.
And if someone hasn't experienced that what next talk that you proudly deliver across schools, prisons, organisations and corporate companies, then what's in that talk? What are your secret messages when it comes down to stopping asking yourself why me and start asking what's next?
I think why me is a shit question. You continue to ask shit questions and put your focus in a place. If I use an analogy like of a garden, and in a garden it doesn't take much effort for weeds to grow. Right? It takes a lot of effort to cultivate a nice rose bush. It takes a lot of effort, but quite quickly the weeds that you don't grow can absolutely strangle the life out of those rosebuds. No matter how hard you try to put the good stuff out there, the bad stuff will easily take that away without even realising. So I think what people need to do first and foremost is get to the root of all the problems, which a lot of people don't like to do. It's scary. Getting to the root of your problems, it takes effort, which a lot of people aren't willing to put in our microwave society we live in. So you've got to develop and cultivate patience to be able to go and deal with those roots and allow yourself to be able to get to that dark place to be able to get rid of those weeds. And then the second thing is you've got to start planting, in your garden. That's simple things like waking up and, this gratitude attitude that everyone's talking about. It's the simple little things, starting to set your goals, starting to set your grateful mindset. And then, but what's next is completely not only developing a mindset about focusing on what you can control. Ultimately, that's it. People talk a lot about the controllables, and I believe it, that we have two buckets, a can and a can't bucket, and I truly believe that I'm just constantly focused now on what I can control, because you can't bucket offers you nothing but a waste of time and a lot of misery, anxiety and depression.
And one of my favourite quotes is, those people who say they can and those people who say they can't are both usually right. So it depends on how you talk to yourself, and it depends on what you focus on and how you control, depends on how you turn up and how you come out of it.
Unbelievable quote. I love it. One of my favourite quotes of all time.
That's it. And talking there about anxiety and depression and mental health, a lot of people now know you for a fantastic charity that you run. But before I let you introduce, what you do with the charity and how it's impacting people's lives, I'd love to find out a little bit more about how it started.
Yeah, the short story of it is that in April 2016, without any sign or warning, my brother-in-law, Andrew Roberts, took his life. 23-year-old, no signs of depression. Just an impulsive decision, like a lot of people take his life without talking about it, and it left the family on a level of destruction and devastation that I've never seen before. A lot of times, when we hear about suicides, it's about the person. They don't often. There's not a lot of talk often about what that family's experienced after, and the family continue to experience, because there's a lot of stigma for families. And I'll never forget telling my little boy, that his favourite uncle had died, and the screeching which he let out were horrendous. It'll live with me forever. I'm telling my missus about a baby brother, and I'm going to tell all these people, because I won't at first up to my mother-in-law's house. And it were horrendous. And 4 days after, I came up with this idea that I needed to get men talking to stop families going through what we've been through. And that's how it all started, really. And came up with this idea. And what's really nice is when I talk about the mindset you have, but by that point, I had developed this what's next mindset to a point that whatever we're going to get thrown at me in life, I'm going to look at what I could do. I couldn't bring Andy back. Couldn't take the pain away from my family. What I could do is use some of that pain as motivation to be able to create something, a legacy for not only Andy, but for men all over the world. And Came up with a simple idea really, where men would be in a room, they'd sit and they'd chat. And there's a Sky Sports interview that I did that's just come back out that I saw the other day, 4 years ago, and I've not watched it. I don't ever watch anything back that I do ever. Not a version. A lot of people love seeing stuff back. I couldn't tell you one thing I'd watched. I've done TEDx talks. I've done all sorts. Never watch all back in full ever. I don't know why, because I'm playing rugby. You do your video analysis and you like to watch stuff back. No, but I watched this video the other day from 4 years ago, and I was a different character, and I think there were a lot of nervousness in the air that night because it was just the night or an hour before I was about to start the group. And I don't think at that point I knew what to let myself into. But in the video, it just stuck at me. It says at the end, it says, hopefully, if you can't set up an Andy's Mancle, hopefully people can set up their own things, which loads of people have done now, and they'll even tell me that it's from the inspiration of Andy's Mancle. I said, but hopefully Andy's Mancles will be set up in other places like Leeds, Bradford, Scotland. We've got them in all those places, and it's just amazing that, that vision that we had then to help that one man, what we really wanted to do has really transpired. And, we've got 29 groups active right now online, 28, local groups, as in different areas. And that will grow. We're resourcing new staff, but, this year we'll be doing that. And after COVID ends, we know we're going to be needed more than ever. And, this is a voluntary run service. You've got 200 guys a week who are just the facilitators who all turn up unpaid. And all the guys who walk through the door themselves, took that mask off, got the help they need. And our saying at Andy's Man Club is that you're either just been through a storm, you're currently going through a storm, or there's a storm brewing in your life. And the beauty of Andy's Man Club is it's there to help people through those storms by people who've also been through those storms. And the real success came from Andy's Man Club when, 4 weeks after we started it and we had 9 men turn up, and the week after 15 men turned up, I started a campaign called It's Okay to Talk, where basically you take a selfie with an OK sign, and then boom, in 4 weeks, I think it had reached 100 million people. I'm sure the Samaritans give me a tag that, it's the most widely spread campaign, the biggest campaign that ever been on planet at that point. And I still think to this day, it's something like that. But listen, like that type of stuff never really, that big shit doesn't really bother me. Couldn't explain anymore. Like, along the way of Andy's Man Club, what people see is, and I live in a small town with a lot of people who get jealous and have opinions about stuff they don't understand. That's usually when people have opinions about negative opinions. It's stuff they don't really understand or don't even want to understand at a certain level. And, people see me that I've been in Prince Charles's front room, or I've had letters off Theresa May, and I've got a chance to go to a lot of cool shit, like, but none of it bothers me at all, like, beyond belief. I couldn't explain. What bothers me and motivates me is when I see a guy who I know has attended our club walking through town with his daughter. When I get a message of someone, we did the bus tour last year, and we attended every town that we've got a group and raised awareness. And wives were coming up crying, giving me a hug, saying that your group saved my husband's life. And when you hear shit like that another person is still here, that, the people that you set out to do this for, the families, still have those loved ones here. Nothing matters more to me than that. Nothing.
And I think you find so much value from, like I said, focusing on that one man. And it's when you, like I said, it must be so proud to walk down the street and realize you see a man there, like I said, with his daughter, and realizing that, you may not have saved that guy's life, but you've certainly helped him be that person who he can walk down the street with his daughter. And that your club is there every Monday night at 7 p.m. to be there for him when we do go through that storm. And especially now when we come out of the scenario of COVID-19, more than ever, that club is going to be there. And to reach the numbers, and I watched that interview back yesterday from 2016, and you could see, obviously, it was the night of the very first club, and you could see kind of how he was feeling and the emotions and how much it meant to you as a person. But, you've come a hell of a way in 4 years to have, just over 900 members every week, 28 local clubs. And I'm sure if you spoke to every single one of them men, it's that small difference that you've saved their life is incredible. And I really do admire the difference that has made.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because people often use that saying, that your club saved my life. What you and Elaine's done has kept me here for my kids. But I think, like, Andy's Man Club didn't save your life. You saved your life by using Andy's Man Club. And that's why so many people feel in debt to it, like why they want to help out after and help another man. And, they become addicted to that because it's, being able to help another man and look at another man in the eyes and help him. And it's just, there's nothing better than seeing a guy come to a group with his eyes down at the ground, And then slowly, week after, is it your ankles, your knees, and next minute is it giving you eye contact and talking about a problem that maybe bottled up for years. Is beyond powerful, man.
And it's also remembering that besides the 900 people you have through the doors every Monday, I really believe it's a much bigger movement than that, because what happens, you don't just inspire and motivate and get people talking of the people who actually turn up physically on the Monday, but they're going to go away and tell their friends, their families, their work colleagues and other people, and suddenly you realize you've had this much bigger effect on the people you're affecting. And even like, we're not trying, although we're trying to get everyone talking and openly talking about their struggles and what they've been through, but it's also just realizing that if we can show that vulnerability in them, then perhaps they can show it in someone else, and it has this ripple effect. And I'm sure that must be amazing to see it grow.
Oh, beyond belief. And we've often spoke about that, like the butterfly effect, or like one small little effect, change can have wide effects elsewhere. And that's what it started off as, one little simple location, one little group. And I've been so engulfed in a variety of projects that I always seem to most people that I've got my shit together, because doing what we do, you've got to appear like that, because you're meant to be the motivator, you're meant to be the inspiration. I'm a leader of an organisation that is meant to be, leading the way in this country in stopping men killing themselves. So a lot of time that comes with a lot of added pressure. And there's a saying actually in a Stormzy song that really related to me in a difficult patch, because all everyone always sees is the good stuff that happens with what we do. They don't see the hardships of the pressure that came when first started on his man club. When you're the guy that tells the world it's okay to talk, a lot of the world think that means it's to you. And when you want to basically help save everyone's life and change, that can become a big burden to carry, a big burden, and that can become heavy and deep. And I start to resent Andy's man club at times, because I live in a small town where people start to have opinions that I earned money from it and I've never earned a penny in it. All these stuff, and people have opinions that maybe it's making suicide worse because they start to know about it more. And all these bullshit saying that small-minded people had because they never worked on themselves and they found it easy to pull someone else down rather than grow themselves. It became difficult to run this movement. It became very, very difficult at times. And only now have I started to streamline stuff back down to really focus on it. And I came up with a mad goal the other day that we want to have, groups in every town and city, which we've always wanted. But then I said, who knows? Like maybe we can get them in every state in America and all over Australia where we get asked, in Canada, and every English-speaking country to start with. And let's become the biggest male mental health movement in the world. And let's do it. We had a goal that in 5 years we'd have 10 clubs. We're now 4 years on with 28 groups, and we've lost 2 or 3 who weren't right for us. Along the way. So I listened to a song one day, and it was a song called 1 Second by Stormzy, and it's actually about, if you just give me 1 second of your time. But there were some lyrics in it that just really emphasised to me at one point when I'm finding it quite difficult leading this movement. And it says, I am not the poster boy for mental health. I need peace of mind. I need to centre self. The cover of the enemy, that shit made me resent myself. There's people trying to spread the word, and then there's people that try to pretend to help. How am I complaining when I'm best? I get this guilty feeling on the days I'm at my best. And all these demons that I carry get to mess with my head. So could you give me just 1 second just to get it off my chest? And I was like, wow, to that point, there was an article yesterday in our local paper that it said, Calderdale mental health figurehead. And I'm like, and then said lockdown can be good for your mental health, and it was completely misconstrued. The question was, can everyone, will everyone suffer with mental health problems in COVID? And I said, no. Some people will be good because they're used to living in a rat race that they didn't like being in. So it's going to be really good for their mental health. And, he ran it how he wanted to run it. And I don't think he meant it negatively, but small-minded people again jump on stuff. And it's difficult. No matter how much you train yourself, train your mind, some people still are able to find a way in out there.
And being in the position that you are now, and you've talked so passionately about, and being this figurehead of it's okay to talk, and especially with Andy's club movement, and many people have seen you as a lead and as a role model in the mental health space, getting men talking. How do you personally deal with that pressure? You talked about kind of the emotions that you're carrying, especially with that Stormzy lyric there, the pressure. How do you deal with it?
Do you know what? I don't think I ever really have. I think a lot of the time I've just sort of There's been a couple of points where it's been difficult because when you are the guy that tells everyone to talk, at times you're like, who can you talk to? Because at one point, like I would do poster boy stuff for Samaritans, and I used to speak at their conferences for free because I love what they do. And then I started thinking, well, a lot of volunteers are going to know who I am because of what I do in suicide, which I can't really tell them. I want like in a bad place like that. I just needed someone to just be able to go, brah, man, I've got people killing themselves around me, and I'm like, people are making me responsible for everything. People asking me to go speak and say words at the funerals of the kids who I've never even met, and they see me in this light, and it's like sometimes I want to be able to just say to people, I'm not about people who've asked me for stuff like that. These people who say negative stuff, when you're a role model, it does become a point where you can't say anything negatively. Sometimes you'd love to be able to just say to someone, right, well, listen, meet me on backfield, right? And you'd love to be able to handle business in a different way. But with what you're building, you can't allow yourself to slip once just to win a little battle, and lose the war. It's not worth it. Like, people spend too long trying to build stuff, and people are going to try to rip it down without making those mistakes yourself. So, at times I hadn't dealt with it well, and it'd be easy to sit on here and as a motivational speaker and say, I've always got my shit together, and I always handle it well. And a majority of the time I do. Most people know me, know that I've got my shit together quite a majority of the time. What you see on my social media isn't fake. That's generally how I am, and I'll often post on social media, stuff that's that's difficult, or I'll give people lessons just recently about being a role model and how difficult that pressure's on your shoulders, because at one stretch everyone puts you in a certain light that you are this perfect individual. You are Jesus-like, that you are, I once went on a school run, and a woman came down a road that she shouldn't have come down, and I were already up, there was no way I could have gone back down, there was nowhere, and she started bad-mouthing to parents walking past, and I'm like, where can I go? Like, there's not, like, you've come round, it's not your thing. Someone then put on Twitter that night, meant to be a positive role model in the town, and yet the way you treated that woman were horrendous. And the woman even admitted after, when we got to school, like, that was my fault. But like, that's how easy stuff are. Like, the people that, they want to see, or they expect that you can just make everything perfect. And at times, like, like, I don't know if you're a dad yet.
No, I'm not yet.
Being a dad, like, sometimes people want to be able to just say to the kids, like, stop it. And then you've got pressures on you, like, I can't ever seem to be shouting at my kids, I can't seem to be this. So it becomes difficult, back to your question of, how do you handle it? The majority of the time, I don't let success go at me, I don't let failure go at my heart. The great Will Smith saying, and I truly believe that, I've done some very things, stuff that I'm proud that what's gone on, but I don't ever let it go to my head, ever. I'll always be the real raw guy who walks around in black t-shirts and shorts. Oh, have I got shorts on? Who knows, right? I've got shorts on, right? But I also never let failure go to my heart long term. Short term, sometimes it winds me up, and at times, any great leader will question when they hear stuff that's completely thing, like, why do I put myself through this? But then they remember why they started, and they remember why they do what they're doing. When I jump on a FaceTime, with our group on applications like this, and I hear the impact that the group's having on them and what they feel of the group and the impact that they say I've had on them, and it outweighs anything that anyone bad could ever say.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to become, one of the things that I've realized in my life personally is to become silent in my own head. It's the fact that, it doesn't matter what people say to me, as long as I'm silent in my own head, that's all that matters. And sometimes, like I said, I can truly relate to what you said then, because so many times, especially my friends or the people in my circle, see me as Luke, the mental health advocate. So that means Luke is the person who we can always go to. Oh, well, hang on a minute, you shouldn't be having mental health problems now because you talk about it. I'm like, well, no, because we've all got it and we all go through those dark times. And one of the things that I personally struggled with, especially in the start of this year, was the fact that a lot of my mates put on me because that was their escapism. But then because I was seen as this mental health advocate or ambassador or speaker, whatever, they didn't like me going to them to speak to them about it, because they said, oh, well, I can't advise you what to do. And I said, well, it's not about advising. It's about sometimes just being there to listen to somebody and have someone to speak to. I think that's something that, I've had to learn to deal with, and especially from dark times, and especially during these periods now where you have no income. It's a case of that I do ask myself, why am I still doing this? Why didn't I just go and get the average 9-to-5 job when everyone else, and I could have continued working? But it's during those moments I look back and I read the messages that people sent me and the difference I've made, and you remind yourself then why you started, and suddenly it relights that spark that you've always had inside of you. But coming back to the beginning of Andy's Man Club and creating this movement to what it's been now, did you have any challenges or hurdles that you had to overcome to be where you are when you very first started out?
So many that couldn't even name. You're talking, first year, the National Suicide Prevention Alliance had never ever partnered up with anyone, and we were there. They took our slogan and partnered up with us, and you're talking instantly shot on a big scale, which people then are expecting, because you're on this big scale, that you're a big organisation, and we want. The early days, there were nothing behind the scenes. It was just me and Elaine, trying to do his best. There were guys helping out, but it was a tiny little organisation, and running off shoestring budgets and very little budgets. Elaine would be buying coffee, I'd be buying coffee for the group, and it would run off. Not when I look back now, and to see what sort of impact we're having when we had beans. Now people donate to us, and we're still a tight organisation in terms of we don't like to spend because we're so used to having nothing and making a lot happen. But it is growing, and we are in positions where we can take more staff on, and we're looking at that side of things, and the budgets are a lot different to what they used to be, and what we maybe run under Man go off in a year, it might be like what a part-time staff member would get now. We might be able to run as an organisation off 12 grand in early days. That's a part-time wage for someone, or full-time really for some people. So we're a different organisation now. We have 2.5 staff, 3 full-time staff now. And, that'll grow. There'll be another 2 Andys. Ironically, the guy who got the job as the project development worker happened to be called Andy. No favouritism because he's that. It probably makes it a bit weird because he's got to go to a talk about Andy's Man Club and everyone thinks it's his. And instead of saying, no, it's not me, I'm Andrew. So yeah, it comes with a lot of challenges, like we said before, personal challenges was difficult before. Now it's just the time, but great leaders, I read, create other leaders. And we have a group called Andy's Man Club Leaders, where it's got over 60 people in, who all run their own areas now, all voluntary. So, the staff run that. We've got a great trustee board. We're all, other than me and Elaine, they're all guys that walk through the door, which is unbelievable. Not many organisations can say that. Usually trustees have a lot of old people who are very educated. A couple of old people, but definitely not educated. And it's, but they're all passionate. And I think passion sometimes, all the time is more important than intelligence. Yeah, intellectual stuff. I'm not saying they're not intelligent at all. I don't mean it in that way, but I mean they're not intellectuals. They're not bookworms. They don't know about accountancy. We're writing budgets and learning as we go, and and that's what. There's so many challenges that I couldn't even make. You're on about like an organisation that's looked upon in the lights of Calm Zone, Papyrus. Like it's up there with them. I don't like to say it's up there with Samaritans because Samaritans is a beast in its own right, but it's no longer a little community club. It's no longer like Andy's Man Club, a little group, which is great. And it's always be great because we always still believe we're that group. That's why we're so good, because we're grassroots. But it's a grassroots mentality organisation. We're having to sit at big tables, but we're just so real. We're just so raw. It's just, I love it, man. I love everything about it, and probably that enthusiasm and passion has come back more than ever before in lockdown. We started the AMC podcast, and we're doing loads of new and innovative stuff that we've never done before. It's just good to see. It's just good to bounce around and hear guys talking. And because the good thing is you get like a younger guy like yourself, 23, come into a group, and then you get like an 85-year-old man, and people can't often understand how that can work, because you'd never speak to him in the street normally, and he'd never speak to you in the street. Not in a bad way. You're just different circles. You're not someone you're going out for a beer with. But then you're at that group with him and you become brothers, because you help each other through a storm, and it's just so special. I don't think anyone can ever put words into it, and that's why, someone commented on this the other day, I think professionals should be commenting on this stuff, not you. And I'm like, what would you classify as a professional? Someone who deals with thousands of people every week? Is that not a validated opinion? If someone's on the front line of this, dealing with services where we don't require a sign-in form, we don't require funding or a referral sheet. You don't have to be a certain type of sick. You have to be a certain level of sick to get access to our service. You will come to ours whenever you want. And if we get to a point our groups are too big, we just go to another location. We'll grow it, to the point where we'll be using football stadiums and not a back room. We'll be using stadium. You know what I mean? Like, that's where we're at, and that's how his mentality is. We're about that one man. We don't want to let a man down.
And I think that's, for me, it's so important, because when I have a look at not the perfect mental health service or facility, it's a case of, for me, it's the more community-based you can get, the better it is, because it's much more accessible. Like I said, for this, it's not a case where you have to book an appointment, turn up at a certain time, and then you're marked on a scale of how ill you are, how mentally sad you are. But it's the fact that anyone can walk in at any given time, to have the opportunity to share. And like I said, it's connecting people who are from completely different circles and bringing them together and using the powers of their own stories to help each other. And I think there's so much opportunity, but there's something amazing in that. And I think a lot of people, when they look at solving big problems, they look at, right, how can I make a massive difference? How can I change the world? Well, let's forget about changing the world. If we can change our community and the people around in the circle, then they're going to help go make a bigger change. And it's them small circles, them small dots of Andy's Man Clubs around the UK has come together and has really sparked this movement into what it is. But one thing I want to finish on is talking about the mental health, because like myself and you talk so openly about it, but why do you feel there are so many men, specifically rugby players, who don't talk about their feelings, who don't share about their emotions, and why do you think that is?
Spent too long working on his chest and bench and squats, that we don't ever work on his mind. I guarantee you've probably read more books, listened to more podcasts in a singular week since you retired than you did in your own rugby time. You agree?
Yes, definitely.
So you've worked on yourself more in a singular week than in your whole rugby career and that 12-pound mass between your ears. We don't work on ourselves on that. Everyone's too worried about working on the body. No one works on the mind, and everyone talks about mental health, about crisis point. Like, no one's ever talking about mental health, like, way down the line, like yourself. You told me off air, where you got to in your life and that rock bottom, and you've worked your way back up. But I'd probably, guess at some point, unless it was a serious trauma that got you to that point, it would have been a series of stuff that built up to that point, right? That actually, if maybe a year before that, you'd have started learning the stuff you've learned now, maybe you'd have never got to that point, right? And that's like us all, like, if we'd have all learned this shit early doors and we all start to buy into this stuff, we'd have learned a lot about ourselves that maybe we wouldn't have made the same decisions we make. Wouldn't allow ourselves to go down that same route. Because ultimately, everything we do in life is based on those decisions, right? A series of bad decisions will give you a series of bad outcomes, which will make you feel really bad, and eventually that spiral and that grip and those weeds will just go crush you. So eventually you might want to take your own life, you might want to self-harm, you might just end up on a mental breakdown or a series of stress episodes. And on the flip side, you can build yourself. Positive. And you can still get smacked in the face and knocked straight back down, but you know that you've been up there before, so you know how to get there again. And they often say that the biggest killer of men is suicide through lack of talking, which is what I used to believe. But I believe now, actually, it's the lack of hope. Because any scenario, all talking does is it brings about back hope. And Andy's Man Club is black with a white logo because the white of Andy's Man Club represents light in someone's dark time. That's what it always represented. Black tea, everything might be dark right now in your life, but that bit of white represents that light that might just be there for you. And I think what the talking does is talking is just the first step. People think talking is the be all and end all, and I think actually talking is the first step. Once you start to talk, you start to become vulnerable. While you're vulnerable, you can actually start to build yourself. And it's like playing rugby. You don't get fit by going on a leisurely jog. You get beasted until your body can become resilient. You do contact sessions where you're whacking each other, so your muscles get used to that impact. When you play a real game, you're okay. And that's like life. If you use life as a game, you've got to train yourself for life, but not many of us do. And there's lots of other ways we could go about this. We could simplify it around, the reasons why men don't talk, which there's plenty of them. But a lot of guys are just scared to talk because they've never done it before. Some people are scared to talk with Jim. Some people are scared to improve themselves because they're scared of who they may become. But ultimately, we've got to learn that we're all putting a facade on, and we can get rid of that facade and understand that we're all going through the same shit. We don't need to feel embarrassed. We don't need to believe that this is going to be a weakness or that we're going to burden others. Actually, those three things are the main three reasons why men don't talk: burden, weakness, embarrassment. And when you can understand that you can break all those three things down quite easily, and once you've broken down and accepted them, that them things aren't going to happen by talking, and you start to talk, you'll start to make yourself more vulnerable. You'll start to allow yourself to get rid of a lot of those weeds, and then you can start to plant the good stuff. And that's what Andy's Man Club's all about. It's learning to be able to get that mask off, talk about the shit, so you can put some good stuff back in and grow and move forward with your life.
And then hopefully then by surrounding yourself with like-minded people, and it's a movement of helping people together. You know, not anyone comes into the club being a perfect, and no one ends being perfect, but it's a movement where people can get better together with familiar people, and hopefully by surrounding themselves that in a circle, even if they've had the worst week ever, they know come Monday, 7 p.m, they've got the chance to fill their head full of positivity and talking that hopefully can carry them through the rest of the week back to that Monday. And I think that's so important. But I just want to take a moment out of this episode to acknowledge you. I think, from the story I've heard today about, your professional rugby league career, but also the real difference in the lives that you have been helping, and you've been providing the tools for people to help themselves through Andy's Man Club is incredible. And I'm sure if we spoke to every person who's been to an Andy's Man Club, they'd all thank the person of how it started and why it got started. And sometimes when we start something, we don't realize why we're doing it or the impact it can have, and it grows like it has done with you. But for myself, being a young rugby player, seeing someone like yourself talking so openly about it, real, raw, and openly, is extremely refreshing. I only wish there was more people like yourself out there talking about their experiences, because the world would be a completely different place. And I really am thankful for everything you've done for mental health, for men in particular, but especially for the amazing charity being Andy's Man Club.
I really appreciate that, man. And listen, you're out there doing it yourself, aren't you? You are out there doing it. You are sharing your story and you're inspiring people. And through this tough time of COVID, it's going to affect a lot of businesses, but the ones who learn to grow through this period, who use this period wisely, will come out of this back thriving. At a minute, you're going to feel like you're in survival mode, like, because you'll be asking yourself what's next in a negative sense, like, what am I going to do? Is it going to be easy to get a job after this? Talking on the side, and all these questions will have gone through your head, right? It goes through my head, right? And I've been established in this game for a long, long time now, and it's still difficult. It's still questioning, going, like, what am I doing? Like, is this then? Recently I did 2 talks online, and it were like, for a company, and it were like, actually, this, when you see and feel the reaction of people, you know why you do what you do. Yeah. You know you are giving on that, yeah. And there's a good energy about you, a very, very good energy about you. And I'm just glad that you're still here to continue to do what you're doing.
No, I really appreciate that. But before we bring out this episode to the close, I finish every episode with something called the Final 5, which are 5 quick rapid-fire questions to summarise this incredible interview. Hopefully short and snappy answers, just to bring in the true learnings that we've heard from your story and your personal journey to bring this episode to a close. Okay, so question number 1. In this moment of time, what are you grateful for?
My kids and my missus.
Question number 2. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Live in the moment. Most people won't know that I've followed Buddhism for 15 years. It's been a big part of my life. I don't often talk publicly too much about it. But Buddhism, living in the moment. Most mental health lessons come from Eastern philosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism, meditation, mindfulness. It all stems from those ancient teachings. So being present is a massive part of my life.
And what's one thing that you do in your life right now to look after and to maintain your mental health and your mental well-being?
Red hot Radox bath, pitch black, candle lights. I'm going to do it straight after this podcast. I've got 3 kids. I have a stressful life with a lot of stuff going on. I just started to cut ties on a few things, few business projects, start to wind them up, which is good. Cut a few things out of my life, sold a few shares in a few things, just to really streamline what I'm doing. And it's been a bit of a stressful week, actually. And I'm looking forward to going and getting a red hot Radox bath. And I think a massive thing for us is our phones. I've just come off Facebook today because I think at times we can get engulfed. My screen time. I'm someone who preaches about lowering screen time, and it's gone up by about 1,000,000%. I've gone from maybe an hour a day being on it to 12 hours a day or something ridiculous while having 3 kids, playing with them, trying to run a business, trying to run that. I suppose some of it is because a lot of my stuff's gone on my phone. But still, that's something I'm going to do for my mental health, is get off my phone.
And question number 4, if you could go back and tell yourself one message that you know now to your younger self as a young person, what would that one message be?
You're more powerful than you believe you are, and don't ever let anyone doubt you. You know, within you, there's greatness, and you're going to doubt yourself, and so other people. But don't worry what other people say, because you're going to do enough doubting of yourself. So keep moving forward.
Awesome. And finally, question number 5, the question I finish off every episode of the podcast, and that is number 5. What does believing in yourself mean to you?
I love that. Again, believing in myself is knowing. Believing in myself is being accountable. You know, I think everyone truly knows the effort that they dish up on a daily basis. You know when you've been a bit of a dick. You know when you haven't been the best. You know that, like, when you are stressed, when you should make a change. But like, believing in yourself is knowing yourself and accepting yourself, and knowing that actually, you know what, I could lose everything again if I don't make this change. You know, only I am the writer of my destiny, and I need to make sure I be the best version of myself, which we all know what the best version of ourselves is. I don't need to explain that. But the only way we can be the best version of ourselves is to be accountable to self, to be able to look at yourself in the mirror each night and know that you've tried your best.
And if people want to find out more about you as a speaker, more about your work and your businesses, and Andy's Man Club in particular, where can people find you on social media and get engaged if they want to attend an Andy's Man Club?
Probably like recycledspeakers.com, because, you know, after COVID, we might all be on scrapheapspeakers.com. No, lukeambler.co.uk. And, you know, there is something coming that a lot of your followers might like, and just a lot of the stuff I do, and it'd be good to get you involved with some of it as well. And I'm starting something called Mind Tribe, where it's about people who, you know, want to learn more about meditation. You know, I've got just a weird how things. I've got a Buddhist monk, or former Buddhist monk, coming out to teach meditation. I've got mobility, all this stuff that, you know, that we all want in life, and try to build this online platform. So I hope you haven't got one of them. So I'm not taking any of that away from you. Mind Tribe, I'm just trying to create a tribe of people who really want to self-develop, and I've wanted to do online for ages, and take it there so people can have the tools at their disposal. So I'm really passionate about that, personal development, and I'm excited that this Mind Tribe is en route. So lukeambler.co.uk, check that out. It's going to be all over there, and get people in the tribe.
Awesome. And where can we find our local Andy's Man Club? Where's best ahead?
andysmanclub.co.uk, and we've just launched a new website, so there'll also be videos and resources on there as well.
Awesome. All links to Luke Ambler's content, but also Andy's Man Club, can be found in the show notes. But once again, Luke, thank you ever so much for your time. It really has been a real pleasure, and thank you so much for giving your time to share your story with us today.
I really appreciate it, and I'll leave one final message that it's okay to talk.
Thank you for listening to another incredible episode of the Believe in Yourself podcast. Please do make sure you leave a like, you subscribe down below, and check out our most recent episode right by here. Also, don't forget to leave a comment down below of what was your biggest takeaway from this incredible podcast.